welcome in to a very special Valentine's Day edition of Riding the Pine. And a happy one it is, as the Chicago Blackhawks in overtime tonight beat the Columbus Blue Jackets by a score of 3-2, improving their record on the season to 7-5-4, and an impressive 7-2-4 in their last 13 games. Please do me a really big favor and hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And please comment down below as well. Let us know what you thought about the game. Let us know about if you have any disagreements with our opinions or just want to discuss anything going on in the season with any of the players, anything of that nature. And with that, I am once again joined by Chai sports fan Joe. Joe, how are you doing tonight?
Hey, Kyle, what's happening, man? Nice to get, it was kind of, watching the game, it was like, man, we weren't getting much going. Columbus was pretty suffocating defensively in that third period, but then Kurashev able to force the turnover, get it to Soderberg, tie the game, and then Kane and Catco doing it again in overtime. So love to see that.
Well, I think that's the moral of this season. I think like what I said, well, we were 7-2-4 in our last 13 games. So, that's pretty, I think, indicative of the team. A lot of these games are close. We've had 7 games, I think they said tonight, go to overtime out of the 16 that we played on the season. And, when you don't, look, the Hawks don't have offense. They don't. Yes, Kane is scoring like usual. DeBrinket's having a very nice year offensively. The power play did well, and Dominic Kubalik was able to rack up a bunch of points there. Janmark's been a nice surprise, picking up some goals when it's needed. And obviously the rookies have done fairly well as well. But, you got to have more offense than what the Hawks have in today's NHL. And when you don't, you have to play, like we talked about, that kind of Barry Trotz, New York Islanders, very defensive-minded game. And that's what they've been doing. And I think they've you listen to the post games about like Colleton said tonight, we're down a goal and you don't need to make 10 plays. You just need to make one play and make sure that you keep them, out of your own end and out of the back of the net. And, that's how you get back in the game and win these close games. And that's true. I think everybody would like to see more offense, but they just don't have it this year. And, I don't think that's anything that's going to change. We can get into a little bit later. I think we might see some new forwards come into the lineup coming up here. Hawks made some moves today with the taxi squad and Rockford, but the defense played excellent tonight. I thought Beaudin has basically cemented himself. He's not coming out of this lineup at this point, I don't think. Picking up his second goal in 2 games, third point in 2 games. Dahan settled in nicely tonight. Zadorov picked up an assist. He's, for all the hate he's been getting, he's, I think, been having an okay kind of. I was looking at his career stats before we started recording, and he's basically on par with his best season, which was last year, with production and as well as plus minus. I believe he's a +1 on the season. And his minutes went up again tonight. He played 18 minutes, so up 3 minutes from the other night.
Good to see Lankinen rebound too tonight. So
yeah, that was, I think that maybe the biggest story, other than Beaudin continuing to play was that Lankinen's back on the back to himself. His save percentage, .935 tonight. He stopped 29 out of 31 shots. Made a couple of key saves in this game. Poise was there. Confidence was there. Props to Jeremy Colleton for playing him. We talked about during the last review.
Yeah, was he going to get in again tonight?
Yeah, and I think I think Colleton even alluded to it in the pregame that after having such a bad game, you kind of want to get that bad taste out of his mouth. And not just that, but in the progression of him as a player, I think it's an important to rebound, right? To get off the schneid, if you will. So great performance from him as we've been seeing this season. Um, look, we've talked about it. This Columbus Blue Jackets team to me is not impressive.
Yeah, and it's really like, that line of what Atkinson and Laine and
Roslovic.
yeah, Ross. I mean, they've been doing it seems like most of the damage against us.
Yeah, well, and you know what? I know Roslovic's probably on a high, but really give Cam Atkinson props. The dude had 6 points in 2 games.
Yeah.
So like I know I tweeted out on the podcast account that the guy was out there playing like Gretzky, and someone's like, "Yeah, you need to like." Somebody said something. It's like, no, man, 6 points in 2 games is Wayne Gretzky level. Like
Right.
that's insane production.
Yeah, because what did he have? He had a goal and an assist, I think, tonight.
Yep.
And then he had a 4-point effort. Yeah, Thursday. So
that's crazy.
yeah.
And like I think he only had 6 points coming into this series, so he doubled his points in 2 games. So that's pretty good for him. Max Domi was interesting tonight. He was kind of a pain in the ass all over. He drew a penalty from, I believe, Zadorov, where he clearly dived, but he got the penalty drawn. I know Ian Mitchell got bloodied up a little bit. Actually, I don't think commentary picked it up, but there was a scuffle behind the net. I think it was the Hawks net, and Mitchell kind of came away with a little bit of a bloody lip with the interaction with Domi. But
Oh, he did. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I know. And for the viewers tonight, I was telling Kyle, I was out to dinner tonight, so I missed the first and almost all of the second. So but I caught the most exciting period, which was the third. So, but
yeah, I
just
just saw the highlights too.
Yeah.
And there weren't, as I told Joe, there weren't many. But yeah, it was good to see Mitchell, standing up for himself. And then on that note, Brandon Hagel literally beat Patrick Laine into next week.
Yeah, I saw the highlights of that fight were pretty good.
Yeah, well, and this guy must have been a Columbus fan because he was tweeting at us. He's like, "Oh, Laine got a couple shots in there." It's like, yeah, but like as soon as Hagel landed a punch, like
Yeah, down went Laine. Yeah.
well, no, he was standing, but he was like out of it. Like you could tell that like it phased him. And then Hagel got another, direct hit, and then he went down. Like Laine was lucky he didn't get TKO'd. And on top of that, Laine is like a half a foot taller than Hagel. So that's almost embarrassing too. I mean, it's like
Yeah, I just love his play. I mean, really, Hagel's been such a one of the many nice surprises that we've seen so far with this team. I mean, gritty, just, will go in and try to, win you battles. And I just love the way he's been playing for us so far.
I tweeted this the other night. I'm really, really curious to see his. We're not going to see it this year, I don't think, but his progression next season, assuming that Kirby Doc is back in the lineup and that Jonathan Taves is, and that me and Joe just extensively talked about what we thought maybe the Hawks would do after this season. I think we both probably agree they need to add something, even with Doc and Taves on offense, but just just adding that depth in the top 6 back into this lineup, and it pushes some of these players down, and you have a little bit more of a mix and match. I'm like Hagel really reminds me of a Brandon Saad, almost like he's got speed. He can get the breakaways. He's a good defender. but he's
Right. I think the only thing like so far that Hagel hasn't done is put the puck in the back of the net, but that's going to come.
yeah, and it should come even more frequently, right, when he's playing with more skilled players, um, which I think obviously probably not going to happen this year. Should happen next season. Um, but up and down the lineup, like Kurashev had another great game. Had a on the most important, really. Really, I think a lot of people were giving Carl Soderberg, who tied the game in the third period, a lot of praise because of his percentage at the face-off circle and then all the little things he's been doing. And I'm not saying to like that's not necessary, but Kurashev made that goal. Like if without Kurashev, the goal doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And
Well, yeah, he forced the turnover, bang, and then got it right to Soderberg. So,
right, and Soderberg's not like a scorer, right? Like
yeah.
the skill there is low. So like, you know, that but and Kurashev hasn't been finding, not necessarily on the stat sheet every night with points, but he's definitely been doing like what he did to get that goal scored with the two-way play and the back check and the forecheck and the board battles, all of that stuff. He was 50% at the dot tonight as well. I'd like to see him or Suter get that center role from Soderberg on the power play. I think that would be, you want Soderberg there to win the draw, obviously, on the power play. That's why he's there for filling for Shaw.
Yeah,
But
and they said he led the way tonight. He won 12 of 15 faceoffs.
yeah,
Soderberg.
80% at the dot. But Pew Suter was 73%, and Kurashev was 50. I don't know what the totals were there.
What was Strom?
50.
Okay. So I was gonna say, yeah, like I know we had talked about it before, but yeah, he's kind of come back down to earth a little bit in the dot.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to that. Johnson was interesting. So Johnson got back into the lineup. I know you and I had wanted to see him after the first game he played, which was against Columbus as well.
Yeah,
Back
he
on
was
the
he was noticeable. I mean, yeah, I think he had what five? I think 5 hits and a block shot and one shot attempt, but he's on the ice for I believe 7 minutes.
yeah, and I think so. I think and I guess this will kind of lead into where I was going with the Strome and I think Kubalik. So the second line is just it's not working. So you got Kubalik and Strome who are both struggling, and then Yanmark, who I guess is, when you're playing with two guys that are struggling, you're kind of grouped in with them too. Um, not to say that I
I
don't
was
really
gonna say Denmark is making things happen, but it's
right.
just Strom and Kubalik aren't burying their chances, I guess.
Yeah, and like I don't. This is concerning with Strome because whenever you take Alex DeBrincat away from him, he does this, and I don't know why. Like it's weird. Like because obviously the reason he's in Chicago is because he wasn't producing in Arizona, and then he immediately got reunited with DeBrincat, and he put up like almost a point per game. Then he
Yeah,
dropped.
so do you think Colleton has to put them three on a line? Do you go Strom, DeBrincat, Kane?
No, I think uh, I don't know what you do. I like
Because I know, like we said, Strom always seems to have his best games when he's on a line with DeBrincat. But then again, I mean, the chemistry Kane and DeBrincat have is
right.
obviously really really good too. So it's
It
like,
just
where do you go?
yeah, it's like again, part of it is, you know, it, I think we're seeing that, um, Dominic Kubalik is not a top six forward, and arguably Dylan Strom isn't either. Um, and the only reason they're getting this time is because Doc and Taves are out of the lineup, and you know, look. I mean, if you had Doc and Taves in the lineup right now, those are your 1 and 2 centers. So Puce Suter's going to drop down. Maybe you drop Kane back down with Doc like you had in the playoffs, and maybe you put Suter on the other wing, and then it's Taves, DeBrincat, maybe you put DeBrincat, Doc, and Kane together, and then it's Taves and Suter, and then
then what do you do with Strome?
well, is Strome a center or not? That's
Right.
why his face-off thing was.
If you
so
have Taves and
important.
Doc back, do you move Strome to the wing?
I think so. I think you move Strome up to the first line with Taves, and maybe it's Strome, Kubalik, and Taves, but then Suter's gone too, right? So maybe Suter, Strome, and Taves, and you drop Kubalik down with Kurashev and like a Hagel.
Yeah.
Or
it's so like complicated to.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think they have to add somebody else too, like we were talking about, just for those top minutes. Because to me, Kubalik's not a top 6. Strome's not really looking like a top 6. Yeah, it's hard to. Suter's looked, good, but you don't know because you're at a limited sample size. Same with Kurashev.
Right, outside of like Kane and DeBrincat, who's that other daily point or gamely I should say instead of daily gamely point producer, where you're average at that
probably Doc and Taves. I mean that's a big. I mean you're talking Taves is 60 points, and you're probably talking 50 to 60 for Doc this year based off what he did in the bubble.
Right.
So, that's 120 points that's missing out of the lineup. But I still think because Doc and Taves aren't scorers, they're like playmakers. So you need somebody on the wing that can put the put the puck in the net and to make the lines overall more dangerous. And here's the thing with that too. When you do that and that allows you to drop Kubalik and Strome down to the third line, or whether it's some combination of Kubalik, Strome, Suter, or Kurashev, you drop them down to that third line. Well, now, or even a Janmark, now those guys are going against weaker players. So their stats should also go up because they're going to, Kubalik's a 50-point-a-year guy. Strome's about a 50-point-a-year guy, somewhere around that percentage. And if they're going against, weaker defensive players, because, the other team's going to focus on their top defensive players or units on those top 2 lines. So that should open things up. And that's like this team, and that's what's so frustrating about this season is they've got so much talent, especially when you look at the defense. Like I said, Beaudin's not coming out of the lineup, and we've got Boquist coming back. Now, maybe Boquist isn't a part of the future anymore, but we haven't seen him play. He's only played 6 games, so that's a pretty big statement to make. Big if. But we've still got, Kalynuk, who's the best skater of all of the prospects on defense.
Right, and that's what I said. I would love to see him get in, and we just don't know when it's going to happen.
And you got Regula, who's a big body at 6'4", and put up like 50 or 60 points over in juniors last year. Maybe I'll ask Josh because he's covering the Ice Hogs for On Tap this season apparently, to kind of get his opinion on what Regula's been doing. But and then there's Alex Vlasic, and on and on and on. So the defense just looks great. And it's going to be fine and great. You had all your prospects there. And the Hawks have Lucas Reichel, who they took at forward in this past year's first round. Arthur,
when those defensemen develop, I think we're going to be pretty pretty stacked on the defensive side of the puck.
Yeah, the questions are just at forward, and it's who fits where. And I think what we're seeing is Bowman's going to have decisions to make, because to me it looks like we've got like 10 guys who are all the same player, and there's only 6 roster spots for that bottom 6. Like, you got Hagel, you got Johnson, you got Camp, you got Highmore, Carpenter, Wallmark, Yanmark. If you bring somebody else in, does Kubalik drop down? Does Strome drop down? Does Kurashev drop down? Like, you got all those guys in there who are all like bottom 6, top 9 players, and you're missing your top 6.
Yeah, I know we were talking, like now, the Hawks, like I said, we're at 7-5-4. We're in contention for a playoff spot. And, what do you do? Obviously we're going through all these scenarios. All right, well, if they keep the pace and they're in the playoff hunt, do you buy at the deadline, or do you just stay pat? Or if things start to go south, obviously you sell, but who do you sell? Do you sell a DeHaan? Do you sell a Yanmark? Who do you think goes to try to get us the best value in a return?
Yeah, there's so many question marks there. I mean, if you're selling, I think it's DeHaan is obviously the most sellable. I think you sell him no matter what, because I think he's going to get, no matter what they do, whatever formula they go for at the expansion draft, DeHaan will be exposed. So if you can move him, then you're going to do it, because you're going to lose him anyway, or potentially lose him anyway. And I think, look, they have to make roster spots, right? And but like, here's the problem that we're looking at right now. And to be honest, the one thing we haven't talked about is, does Stan Bowman go right now in 2 weeks when Connor Murphy's back? If you're Stan Bowman, do you go, well, we got a problem, because now I've got Connor Murphy back, and I've got Mitchell, who I don't want to take out of the lineup. I've got Beaudin, who I don't want to take out of the lineup. And I got Boquist, who I don't want to take out of the lineup. And I still got this other kid named Kalynuk, who looks like a stud. And eventually I'm going to have Regula, rummaging around too for some playing time. So can I trade DeHaan and try to, like, do I trade DeHaan in my first round pick to try and go and get something? Because, me and Joe were talking, there's not much in free agency next year. And the reality of the situation is, based on current salary cap constraints, Blackhawks are going to have money to spend. They've got a lot of money coming off the books. You've got Smith, who'll be gone. That's $3.2 million. You got Sod's Mill that you pay in Colorado, so that's $4.2 million. Assuming DeHaan is gone, that's another $4.5 million. So right there, you're already at $9 million. Soderberg won't be back. That's another $1 million. You're at 10. We talked about, is it possible Seabrook retires? Seabrook retires at $6.7 million in cap space you get. If Shaw retires, that's another $4 million that you get. Shaw probably won't retire. I would assume if one of them does, it would probably be Seabrook. But
with Shaw's concussion history, though, I don't know. I really.
Yeah, but I think it's different. I guess the reason I say I don't think Shaw would retire is Shaw's not made the amount of money that Seabrook has, and that, Shaw's less likely, with only 1 year left on his contract, to walk away from that $4 million when Seabrook's got 3 years left at $7 million, and he's already made just off this contract, which was eight years. He's 5 years through it now, so that's $35 million.
And I think, like I said, Shaw, if Shaw was like, a single guy, all right, yeah, he's younger. Okay, he could battle through some concussions and come back and play, but now that Shaw's, married, he's got a kid. I think he's got a kid with another one on the way. It's, I think that has to weigh into his decisions a little bit more because, we've seen, players that have gone through the, hell and back with these concussions, and it affects them, down the road, even in retirement. So
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't.
not. I guess so. When I say retire, I'm not saying that he would play. I'm saying see Marion Hossa, like see Brent Seabrook right now. Right, they're not playing. There's a lot of guys that aren't playing, but and they're not retiring. Well, why aren't they retiring? Because they want to collect their check, and that's maybe if there's ever something that might change with the CBA in future seasons down the road is maybe letting these teams out of some of these contracts when the players just can't play anymore because it's so awful on the contract. And maybe
Right, or you reduce it, or you say,
well,
all
like
right, if there's an injury, you get this X amount or whatever.
yeah, like something's got to be done there because you got all these teams that are circumventing the salary cap by purchasing dead money and so they can use long-term injured reserve and like they've got to figure out something there. But my point being is if one of them was going to walk, I guess what I'm saying is if one of them was going to walk away from their money, I think it would be Seabrook and not Shaw for exactly the same reasons that you just mentioned. Shaw's got a wife, got a kid. I don't know if he has another one on the way, but if he does, obviously he needs that 4 million much more than Seabrook needs 7 million. He's made far less money than Seabrook has over the course of his career. But either way, the point that I'm making or that we're making here, the Hawks have a lot of money to play with. And if they don't bring Yanmark back either, that's another 2.2 million. So there's a lot of things that they can do.
Right. And I think the keys, like you said, are with Seabrook and Shaw. What do they do?
Well, if Seabrook's gone and retires, I guarantee you they're signing Taylor Hall. Like they just are.
Yeah.
Like because that's at that point you're talking like $20 million in cap space, and you don't really have any huge contracts that you need to give out. Like Doc will need a bridge deal, but he's probably looking at 2 to 3 million. So that's again a 2-3 million raise. Same with Boquist. Like these guys are not going to make huge money on their next deals. And let's be real here. Doc probably would have got more money if he was playing this year, but he's not. So in a way that might help the Hawks in a way with the salary cap. But either way, they've got money. So, and even now, Buffalo is not probably making the playoffs this year. So, do you go and go, hey, we want Taylor Hall? We want to negotiate a new contract since he's on a 1-year deal and we'll bring him in. We'll sign him for 2 years or something like that. Because that's the other thing with the cap not going up, most likely, a lot of these big free agents are probably not getting long-term deals. And Hall obviously is going to be the big fish again. If something weird happens, Ovechkin will be out there, and Landeskog from the Avalanche could potentially be out there. I don't think either me or Joe see either one of them really hitting free agency, but stranger shits happen, so you never know. But yeah, I think with this defense, they've got it. Like, I guess the point and all that tangent that I was talking about was, do you think there's any possible way right now, based on what we've seen from Beaudin, Mitchell, and potentially Boquist, that when Connor Murphy comes back in 2 weeks, we'll be into March at that point. It will be about a month out from the trade deadline.
I was gonna say we'll almost be halfway through the year.
Yeah. So if the Hawks are still in this, do you stand pat or do you go, hey, I'm going to try to move to Han and try to get something on offense? Or, and if I have to, I'll package my first round pick to try to add a top 6 forward, because I would hope to God they know in March whether Taves will be back this season. If he's not, like, that's the other, like, everything with this season is just such fuckery right now, because you don't know what's going on with Taves. Doc most likely will get in before the end of the year. Maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3
I
weeks.
think it all depends, though. I think if like I said, if the Hawks are in playoff contention and battling for those top 4 spots, then Doc gets in. If things start to go awry and they kind of come back to earth, then I don't think you'll see Doc this season.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah, but I'm just speculating. If you're still in contention, or if you're more in contention in March, 2 weeks out from now, and let's be real here. I mean, they've got 2 games against Detroit coming up, which they should win. So if they win both of the, and I'm not saying they will, because stranger shit's happened again, but if they do, that's what is it that they're now 9-5-4.
Yeah.
I mean,
that puts you at 22. Yeah, that gets you 22 points.
And who do they have coming up after that? Are they going to Carolina?
Yeah, let's see. They're I believe after Detroit, they are then they're in Carolina.
So that'll be another tough or interesting couple games.
Yeah,
What really sucks is
really what here's the kind of the positive news. I mean, at least bright side looking up here. So from their next game, which is Monday, the 15th, then February concludes on the 28th. And the Hawks have 2, 4, 6. So they got 8 games left in the month of February. 4 of them, half, are against Detroit. So there's a little, carrot at the end of the line right there. Half of your remaining 8 games are against the Red Wings. So and you have two with Carolina and another 2 with Columbus mixed in.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a carrot though. Like,
well, just it's a positive. I guess
it's a positive, sure.
Yeah,
But
it's
again,
winnable games. It's winnable games. You have 4, at least guaranteed 4 winnable games right there.
But on the same token, like, I don't want the team to be masked, like how good you are. Like, that's the other thing. We talked about, right, how the second line is trash, and we haven't gotten into my point that I was going to make. But, like, Kubalik and Strome need to be better. So if Kubalik and Strome start scoring the next 2 games, take it with a huge grain of salt, because you're playing Detroit.
Right.
So,
well, and then I was saying, because now I feel like this stretch of games, honestly, Kyle, is going to make or break this team, because now I'm looking at the schedule here. Obviously, we're looking at February. The Hawks have played the Red Wings well. They've played the Hurricanes well, even though they haven't, beaten them more times than not. But they've played the Blue Jackets well. But you go into March, right off the bat in March, you're starting in a dogfight, because you got 3 to start the month of March against the Lightning. Then you got 2 against the Stars, then 2 against the Panthers, then another 2 against the Lightning, and then another 2 against the Panthers. So the month of March is going to be a pretty brutal lineup of games. So that's why I think this month, starting from now till the end of the month, is going to be a pretty crucial stretch to whether the Blackhawks can, keep their heads above water and stay in contention, or they're going to fall off the boat.
yeah, I mean, most likely they're fighting for the 4th playoff spot, right? So who are you fighting for that? is it Florida's a weird. They have had a great season so far, and I'm not like really sure why that is. I know, like we talked about them playing kind of lower. I think they've already played Detroit 4 times, so that might be part of it. Um, but what are they? They're 8-2-2. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody had them doing that well. Uh, the Hurricanes are 9-3. So those are probably guess going to be your top 3 teams. And we
I
haven't
mean,
even talked
I
about
honestly thought at the beginning of the year, the top 3 teams, at least the top 3, at least in our division, would be, the Lightning, the Hurricanes,
in the
and the Stars.
stars. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I thought yeah, the fourth from the fourth spot would be up for grabs, but I thought that was going to be Columbus, but I don't know. So
Yes, I mean the Stars have lost their last 5 games. That's very interesting.
yeah,
So they have 4 games in hand on the Hawks, and the Hawks have a 4-point lead. So they have 8 potential points there. The Hawks have a 4-point lead. So anytime they play Dallas, those are going to be big games. And that's the thing, it sucks that they couldn't have won the game on what was it, Friday or Thursday, excuse me. They just blew that game because that Columbus is a team that's going to be there for that 4th spot, and you need those points. And even tonight, right? Columbus still got a point,
right.
and now you're tied with Columbus at 18 points apiece, and you both have played. Yeah, well, they have identical records. They're 7-5-4 through 16 games.
But we'll see Columbus again. Like I said, we're seeing them again toward the end of the month. So
Yeah, I wish we would have seen Tampa and Florida before March again. That's
yeah,
that's gonna that's
that's why I said March. I mean, if you're looking at March schedule, it's going to be a dog fight to say the least. I mean, it's tough. The Hawks have a very, very tough schedule in March. So
I mean, the Panthers beat the Lightning. They split their games against the Lightning. They got another game tomorrow against them. You know what? Maybe that might be a game to watch tomorrow if you guys are looking for something to do. If you've got NHL Center Ice or NHL TV, I don't know if the game's going to be broadcast or not. It's tomorrow at 6. Yeah, and it's not on national TV. So if you have one of those cable packages, that'd be one that I might watch because I don't know if the Panthers are for real or not, right? Like we know Tampa is, but is Florida? I just don't know. And they're playing the wing.
yeah, they're playing well, but I mean, I don't know. Is it just a good stretch of hockey? Is it just the teams they're playing against have just struggled? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I almost don't think even with the Hawks, I don't know if their schedule really matters other than the games against Detroit because Detroit is just so bad. But the Hawks are going to be playing defensive games. I would expect this type of play to kind of continue going forward. And man, I don't know. Like right now, if the season ended today, Dallas is probably the 4th team in the playoffs just off winning percentage, but the Hawks are right there. I mean, even like if the Stars continue to lose, it's going to come down between the Hawks and Blue Jackets for that last spot.
That's why, but I just feel like the Stars. I think once you know, is Hudobin still out, or did he finally come back?
I think he's back now. So he was never really out like injured. They just benched him because he
Yeah.
missed practice.
But I think the Stars are too talented to kind of be muddling where they are right now. I think they're going to eventually go on a run, and so I think it will be between obviously the us, Columbus, and the Stars for that last playoff spot. I mean, I don't really see obviously Detroit's not going anywhere, and I don't see Nashville making any noise either. So
Yeah, I was not impressed with Nashville. I haven't been impressed with really anybody except for the Lightning. And
yeah,
I say that knowing that we've played the Panthers twice already, but like I don't we were so bad those first 4 games that it's hard for me to like quantify how good they are. Um, the Hurricanes we played tough. I think the Hurricanes are better than we are, to be honest. But
well, yeah, I agree.
they're barely better, but they're better. Uh,
Yeah,
so I still think Tampa and Carolina are ahead of us. Uh, and the question is what is because Florida's played Detroit already 4 times, and they're playing them 2 more times coming up here. So they're going to have almost all of their games against Detroit almost done. That's insane when
yeah,
you think about it. Because so they have like so they're playing. Florida plays Tampa tomorrow, and then they have a makeup game against the Hurricanes on Wednesday. Then they go to Detroit, or at least they're playing Detroit Friday and Saturday next week. So that's again, and that'll be their sixth games in against Detroit. So that could be why their record is slightly inflated. Uh, they played Nashville. Well, they obviously twice. They actually lost once to Nashville in overtime. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. And then you consider the 2 Hawks games, which were terrible. So the Panthers could have an inflated record. That's, I guess, my concern. Um, I just don't know where we're at there. We could be as high as third if the Panthers aren't as good as they look. Or not as high as third, but we could be in that conversation for the third spot, let's say.
right, right.
um, yeah, back to the game. So, like, one of the things I'm wondering, so the Hawks called up, and I'm sorry if I'm butchering the name, but they called up Michael Hakkarainen from the Ice Hogs, who was, I believe, a 2018 draft pick, and he's a center, and he doesn't have good stats. Last year was his first season in Rockford, I believe. He played with the Muskegon Lumberjacks in the USHL. Had decent numbers. He was a 5th-round draft pick in 2018. And I have to wonder, so I don't think Johnson is going to be back in the lineup again. I just don't. And which brings to the question about Monday's game is I thought Boquist was going to play tonight. Uh,
But I think he'll definitely play Monday.
yeah. So knowing that and knowing that Beaudin's not coming out, are you going to flip Boquist in for Carlson, or are you going to take Johnson out and go back to 11 forwards and 7D again to get Boquist kind of, you know,
Yeah, I wonder if because it's and not just I hate to use like, oh well, it's Detroit. So, it's I'm not going to say it's, a guaranteed victory because, any team could beat any team on any given night, but since we are playing a team like Detroit, do you go with 7? Do you just go with 7 defensemen?
you could, but see, that's the question. Do you go with 7D because you want to ease the Boquist back into the lineup, or since you're playing Detroit, do you just say fuck it and we'll just roll with 12 and 6 because it's Detroit? Um, look, I would like to see, I think, a Mackenzie Entwistle get in the lineup. And like I said, I think it's interesting that they called Hakkarainen up. Again, I hope I'm saying that right.
Was he on the is he on the taxi squad, or what is his?
Yeah, so I think they're both on the taxi squad, Entwistle and Hakkarainen. And
Oh, okay.
Entwistle, as far as I'm aware, has been there all season. So again, you want to get him into a game, I would think. And he's definitely a bigger, like, higher prospect than Hakkarainen is, at least off draft profile. And as you know, they've both played a year in Rockford last year. I think Entwistle had about 30 points in 50 some games, and Hakkarainen was actually even sent down to the ECHL for a little bit, and he dominated down there. But that still is kind of noteworthy. And he's older, I believe. I think he's 23, going on 24 or something like that. I think that's a move that surprised a lot of people that they would call him up, because he didn't have overwhelmingly good stats. So it kind of came out of nowhere. So I'm not sure what they're doing with him, unless they've seen something that they like, which seemed to be the indication, but I'm not sure. But still, like, I guess where I'm going with this is when Kubalik, Janmark, not necessarily Janmark, but that second line is not doing well. I think tomorrow, it could be worth playing with your lines in practice with like Entwistle or a Hakkarainen or something to try to get something with some more chemistry, so you can get Kubalik and Strome scoring.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the thing. What can you do with Kubalik?
I don't know. And I think, I guess I'm more concerned with him than I am with Strome, because look, Strome he just doesn't score when he's not with DeBrincat. Like, he just.
Right. And that's, I know we were talking about that. What do you do? With these lines, and how do you try to get, you ignite one to, pair one with one to get, one going. It's so crazy. But
But I mean, that's the situation you're in when you don't have Doc and Taves. And I hate going back to that, but I mean, that is the reality, and you haven't made a trade for anybody yet. And I guess that's why I'm suggesting, when you've got like Entwistle, who I believe Entwistle came over in a trade from Arizona, and I'm trying to remember what trade it was in, because I, I don't know if he was he in the Murphy trade,
he may have been. I'm gonna see if I can find it.
because he was or was he for Richard Panic maybe?
Oh, I think it was it was Hossa.
That's right, yeah. Because we
Yeah.
sent Hinostroza host. Yeah, that's right.
So
Speaking of which, I don't know if I've asked you this. So Host's contract ends this season, and there's been rampant speculation since he's gone out, that he would return to the Blackhawks organization once his contract expires. What do you think his role is if he returns? You think it's as a scout? Is it?
yeah, I'd have to say it's more of a scout, or like a player develop. Not, I mean, I don't know if it's like player development, or just somebody to maybe help the younger guys get acclimated to the Blackhawks and their systems, and what we how they what if we expect a certain expectations out of a guy, how he can help them acclimate to living up to those expectations. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure he'll have. I don't think it'll be like a overly important role, but it'll still be. It won't be something like really down on the bottom of the totem pole though.
Yeah, well, so Brian Campbell, I think is still a player development coach. We haven't heard anything about him, which is odd considering all these defensive prospects. So that I'll look into that to see if he's still around. But I don't know. Like I would like I think him to be an assistant coach, to be honest with you, because I mean, he's a Hall of Famer and he's one of the best two-way forwards to ever play. So I think, and that was one thing before this season, at least, that was really plaguing the team, at least at the forward level, is that they weren't playing a two-way game and that their forechecking and the back checking was terrible. Everyone wanted to blame the defense for everything. And it's like, well, when you're not getting the puck possession and then your forward group isn't playing defense, you're going to have problems. And I think just with all these young players, like with a Kurashev and even DeBrincat, I think I've talked about it. One of the things with DeBrincat that's really stood out to me is that he's starting to play defense and forecheck and back check, which he, I mean, may have tried previous seasons, but wasn't as noticeable as he is now. And it seems like he's stronger and his speed's picked up. And obviously that's progression of a, younger guy, obviously, but just to see like those younger, like a Pew Suter and a Kurashev and maybe an Entwistle and whoever, Lucas Reichel, if he comes over, these guys that can come over and get that kind of experience from being around Hossa, and just being around them, I guess. And look, like if you're going to tell me that Sheldon Brookbank can be an assistant coach and that somehow he provides value in that role, like I'm sorry, but I'm like, I want Hossa there. So
Well, of course, yeah, and
yeah.
that's what I said. I think he'll have he'll have an important role. I mean, but it all depends on what what he also. I'm sure they're going to ask him what he would like to do,
Well,
and where where the Blackhawks think he'll fit in as well. So
come to think of it, maybe I'll send a tweet out to one of the beat writers to see if they can pick up on this. But wasn't Chris Kunitz a player development coach last year too? Because his wife was from Chicago, right? I think, and they
yes,
stayed
yeah,
in Chicago. So I was thinking that both Kunitz and Campbell were supposed to be in and around the team. And I know with COVID, potentially that's why they haven't been. But I don't know. It's just weird that we haven't heard anything about that. Um, so that would be something to try to
yeah.
figure out.
But I'm like, yeah, I said I'm sure he will come back to the Blackhawks. But yeah, it's just a matter of what role will he have with us when he comes back.
Yeah, well, I don't think unless they make him like a special assistant to Bowman, but I can't see that happening either.
No, yeah.
But yeah, I would say either a scout or a player development, some sort of coach, whether it's assistant or just player development. But yeah. Um, so yeah, we haven't talked about the game-winning goal in overtime, which was quite the sight, to be honest.
Yeah, just beautiful,
Um, yeah, it
beautiful.
was great pass by Kane, per usual, through traffic, and then DeBrincat got it and got it on net, and he got his own rebound that was in midair.
Yeah, I
And
was gonna say whacked it out of midair.
yeah,
Unbelievable.
that was well. It was kind of almost reminiscent of that Kubalik goal from last year, where Taves did the cross ice pass, and then well, I
Yeah,
guess can you
yeah,
even call it a
that was in Toronto. I remember that.
can you even call that a cross ice pass when it's in midair?
I
Like,
mean, I don't. Yeah, I know. Just Taves kind of just flipped it to the front, and I mean, yeah, it was definitely a saucered puck, and yeah, for Kubalik to just come and just whack it out of the air and bang, have it go right in the back of the net. That was pretty. It was incredible.
well, there was another in this game with Bjorkstrand, they showed it on the replay where they passed it and the puck had went up in midair, and Bjorkstrand knocked it down with the back of his stick and got possession with it. But it was almost like he almost picked it up backhanded in midair and dropped it down on the fly. Like, it was just like, those are the type of things that when you see during the game, it's just like, yeah, like, I can play, but I can't do that. Like,
Right.
like, you just watch it, you're like, that's just incredible. And even they probably can't do that most nights, or because like when that's in the heat of the moment, but just just those plays are just amazing that these
Right,
guys.
and I'm kind of like watching the replay of Kane and DeBrincat's overtime goal. I feel like when DeBrincat gets the puck, when he first stops it, it's almost like he's looking to just kind of redirect it on goal. But then I think like it's almost seems to me like he realizes it's going to go right into Korpisalo. So before it gets to him, he whacks it out of the air to redirect it, over his glove hand and into the net. I don't know if you see it in slow motion, but
Wait, because I thought he shot it and then it hit Corpusalo and then he batted it out.
yeah, I just sent it to the podcast account in a message. If you see it, it's like if you watch this in slow motion, it's like stops it and then like just he redirected it and then saw maybe it was gonna hit Corpusalo and then redirected it over his glove hand. I don't know if you see that.
Well, hang on. So yeah, well, I guess I'm wondering, did he actually try to shoot it, or did he, when he tried to stop the pass from Kane, did it just kind of corral off his stick a little bit?
Yeah, that's what I don't know.
And
I thought
then,
it was like he was just trying to maybe just get it on net when as soon as he touched it, but then like it was almost like the puck just kind of slowed down after he did that, and then saw that it was going to hit him, and then so he said, "All right, let me try to see if I could knock this thing, in another direction," and he did, and he knocked it like over his glove and into the net. So that's what I kind of thought, but I don't know. Maybe it's just maybe heat of the moment. He just did it and scored. So
he has been just on a roll. I mean, let me try to pull up his overall
I think he's got that was his 8th goal of the year.
Yeah,
I
he leads
think.
the team in goals now. I know that. Yeah, he's got 16 points in 12 games. I mean, so in his last 5, he's got 2 points, 2 points, no points, 3 points, 1 point. So that's 8 points in the last 5 games. That's pretty good. It's not 6 points in 2 games like Cam Atkinson pulled off, but like
Yeah.
And he's averaging 20 plus minutes a game. So
Yeah, and he's 3 behind now. He's 3 behind Austin Matthews. So because I think Matthews leads the league with 11 goals. Yeah.
Well, I guess here's an interesting note. Put the watch clock on because of looking at his stats. He's 5 goals away from 100.
Oh, nice.
For his career. So that'll be something to pay attention to, because the way he's scoring, that could be pretty quickly in the next 2 or 3 games here. God, I'm just like, he was the 9th pick in the 2nd round. That means there were 9 teams that passed on him twice. Like,
incredible.
that is insane. Because so if this was like, what's he on a normal season? He's on pace for 80 goals. That's insane.
That is a pretty ridiculous pace.
Because let's just say he's played 12, so let's just say 10, and he's got 8. So that would still leave 70 more games. So that, yeah, he'd be around like 60, 70 goals. My God.
But yeah, no, that's like I said. I mean, those two, you get them the puck in overtime. It's like, yeah, you feel like you're gonna come out and get a win. So, but it all depends. Like you said, you got to win the draw and get them the offensive possession.
Yeah, so I mean, kind of wrapping it up. I mean, we got, like we said, the Red Wings. We're going to Detroit on Monday. Um, are there any kind of lineup changes that you want to see? We talked about Boquist is probably going to get in. We just do you go with 6 or do you go with 7D?
I mean, I would go with 6, but knowing them, because like I said, it all depends on what they think they want to do and how they want to handle Detroit. But I don't know. I would think you go with 6 though.
So who comes out? Carlson?
Yeah, I would say yeah. Carlson comes out of the lineup.
Do you add anybody at forward? Do you take Johnson out for somebody?
No, I'd say I keep Johnson in there because I really like his game and I like what he's how
Well,
he's played. But
so we haven't talked about this, but Lucas Walmark is off COVID protocol now, and Ryan Carpenter also came off today. So now everybody is out of COVID protocol. But Lucas Walmark had 3 points in 5 games before he was scratched and then subsequently went on COVID protocol. So with numbers like that, do you maybe put him into the lineup with 3 points in 5 games to try to, I don't
maybe
know.
I would have to think you have to probably give him some consideration. But yeah, I know it's so crazy how this season's working because like you said, everybody because you can't roll out like I feel like a consistent lineup every night because you're trying to get so many guys and shuffle in and out of the lineup. It's just I've never seen anything like this.
Well, and I think that's 2 problems. The problem with the defense is a good problem because we just have a lot of really, really good rookies. The problem with the forwards is Bowman went out and brought Yanmark, Walmark, Soderberg, etc. in. And then perhaps surprisingly, Kurashev and Hagel have kind of made themselves regulars. And Suter, who I think everybody thought would make the roster, has played well. So, you've kind of Walmark and Yanmark probably wouldn't have been a big deal if Kurashev and Hagel hadn't made themselves regulars. So you're at that point now, and this is kind of what I'm saying with the offense is you got so many players in your bottom 6 that you got like half your roster is the same type of player. So that's why they have to go out, I think, in the off season and address that. And obviously, Yanmark has been a very nice surprise with his offensive output. But this is out of the ordinary. So this could be a career year for him. So that's something to keep in mind as well with his play.
Right. I just hope if things work and continue to go well for this team that we can find a way to keep them here.
Yeah. Do you bring in Lankinen again on Monday?
Yeah, I would say you do. So, and I think you play him Monday, and then um, I would think would because when do they play again after that? When is it Wednesday? Then maybe.
Yeah, I believe so.
So I would say then yeah maybe ride him Monday, and then if it all goes well and it's a win, then maybe you give him a rest day, against Detroit on Wednesday, and you start Subban. But I mean, or the Blackhawks could start Subban Monday and
Yeah, I think so. Subban's going to start one of the games, right? I think we probably agree on that.
so
So it's what game do you want to get him in? I think I agree with you. I think you go Lankinen Monday, and then get Subban. You get Subban in Wednesday to give Lincoln and some time off going into Carolina. I think
Yeah.
that makes sense. So yeah, probably Lincoln in on Monday.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that kind of wraps this up. So again, very pleasant surprise. Blackhawks came from behind tonight twice to tie the game. Won it in overtime. Another tight defensive game like we've seen all season. They improved their record to 7-5-4 on the season. I believe they remain tied with Columbus for fourth right now in the Central Division in the final playoff spot. And so they gave us a happy ending to this Valentine's Day weekend. And until next time, everybody, please stay safe, stay healthy, wear your masks, wear your socially distancing, get your vaccines if you are
Stay warm too.
eligible. Yes, stay warm. Try not to go out, and it's snowing here again. I feel like it snowed every goddamn day for 2 weeks.
Yeah. Right.
So, yeah,
And if you live in Florida or Arizona right now, I don't
yeah,
really like.
go fly a kite, literally and figuratively. But with that, everybody, we'll talk to you and see you on Tuesday morning with our review of Monday's game. And until then, go Hawks.
All right, go Hawks. Thanks for listening, everybody.